Welcome everyone to a special episode of Conversations in the Void. I am Graybeard, as joined as always with my off-screen producer Salem, who's in the chat. Make sure to say hi to Salem. He likes to hear from every single one of you. Without further ado, I am pleased to introduce our guest for tonight. She is actor, director, writer, songwriter, musician, and just all-around talented person. The one and only Susan Lanier.
Hey.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's good to be here. A little hot in Los Angeles, but I'm used to it.
Oh yeah, it's been a scorcher so far this year.
Yeah, like no global warming, right? I was just got back from Rome. It was so hot. It was really hot.
Yeah, I was at Disney last month and it was 108 in Florida. So that was
Oh my God.
nothing like taking the kids to the extreme heat.
I know that Florida heat.
All right, so we have some pretty easy questions for you here to get into the show here. So, Susan, what movie do you call a scene that like made you go, "I want to do this as a living," whether it be an actor, writer, director? Do you recall that?
Whoa. I loved watching TV and movies as early as I can remember. My grandmother, when I was a little girl, we didn't have all the streaming of availabilities. And so people actually went to the movie theater. And my family liked to go very, very often. And so it just the experience of sitting there and watching people on the screen, I remember even Bambi, the cartoon Bambi,
Right.
or Dumbo. I know Dumbo moved me a lot. The Wizard of Oz probably was the most influential one that I can remember from my early childhood, where I just sat there and went, "Oh my God, what world is that?" And I want to be a part of it. So, um, but I've been fascinated by it. And my girlfriend called yesterday and asked me if I wanted to go see a movie in a theater. I went, "Well, I've only been to like one movie. I went to see Bambi in Barbie in the theater." And it was great. And I said, "I have to do this more often." And do I know? Because everything's available on, streaming. So it's sad. I hope the movie theaters do come back around.
Yeah, well, my co-host and I, we do another show where we review horror movies, like 3 or 4 movies a week, and we are seeing probably more movies in theaters since we started doing that show about 2.5 years ago than we really had before that, just because before that was still COVID times, and just it's I think theaters will stick around because there's still people that want that experience. There's things you have to see on screen.
Yeah, and I mean, I shouldn't do it, but the popcorn and the hot dog, it just doesn't taste the same at home.
Oh, that's very, very true. So, I mean, I'm sure you told the story a million times, but how did you get into acting then overall? Did you go to school for it? Did you go to theater school, or just happen to walk on the set?
Yeah, my first experience was by accident. I was walking through a park. I was 13, a city park in Dallas, where I'm from, and I saw a bunch of kids over in the corner, and a guy, and I walked over to check it out, and and it was an audition for a play called Winnie the Littlest Witch. And I went up to the man and I said, I want to be an actress and I'd like to audition. And I got the part of Winnie the Littlest Witch. And it was sponsored by the city of Dallas. And so that summer, at the end of the summer, they had an awards program and I won Best Actress in Dallas. And that just ignited it all. I auditioned for every play at school. And going from then 13 until I graduated high school, I got every lead in every play, and I also worked in a professional equity theater in Dallas called Theater 3 when I was just a teenager. I think I was 14 or 14 and a half when I got the part of the Daisy in Alice in Wonderland. And part of some of the cast in that were Morgan Fairchild, Stephen Tobolowsky, Rick Bailey. I mean, a lot of really great writers, directors, and actors came from that tiny little theater downtown Dallas. It was a dump, but we wanted to be a part of it so badly that we would, even as a kid, we'd scrub toilets and do anything, just paint sets, do anything just to be a part of that world.
Mhm. Yeah, for me in high school, that's where I kind of got into it. I was in theater for 4 years. I also took drama class and learned to write and direct and stuff like that too. Yeah, it took me 15 years to get back to doing that stuff again. Life happened for me, but it's amazing that the bug hit you such at an early age, and you're able to go to such a place, and the arts were there for you.
Yeah, I always also was loved music. So I was in
Mhm.
the band. I played clarinet, not so great, but I played clarinet in the band. And I love to be in the music world. And
Mhm.
that was a wonderful time when Bob Dylan and the Beatles and Ray Charles and all those fabulous artists were being introduced into our culture.
Mhm.
And so I had to learn all the songs, and I bought all the albums. It was a wonderful time to grow up.
Right. Now, you talked about, you do play music, you do music videos, you sing as well. Were you singing in like full on theater, full
Yes,
stage
I was auditioning
performances?
for musicals in high school and got leads in
Mhm.
those, and my kid, we had talent shows, and I'd love to do harmonies with my girlfriends. And
Mhm.
my mother was from a very musical family, and she
Okay.
sang great alto, so she taught me early how to hear harmonies. And so it was just always a part of my life. I remember even when I could barely walk. My mother's father was very musical, and I was around him in East Texas. And the whole family would jam and play on the porch. And this was before people, stayed at home and watched TV because there wasn't one there. And they played music at night. So that's how they entertained themselves. So I was around that my whole life.
That's great. But you could, if you looked at my childhood, you think my dad was, the priest from Footloose. We're not, no art stuff was really allowed in our household for whatever reason. I always shied away from musical theater. I always did like normal non-singing plays myself because I can't sing worth a crap. So now, do you feel with your theater training that helped prep you to write and sing in music videos and even doing Broadway as well? Right?
I didn't hear the last part of the
You were
question.
also you also were on Broadway and performed with like Tennessee Williams stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't do much on Broadway. I was cast in
Mhm.
Hair on Broadway.
Okay.
But that was in 1970, I believe, and or 69, 69, 70, 69. And I actually had to drop out because I had a kid. And so they asked me to come back after he was born,
Mhm.
but I had gotten another job already on the road, so I didn't go back into that into hair. But and it just life took me out of New York for a while, back into New York, out of New York, back and forth from New York. I hadn't been to LA yet, so
Mhm.
but getting one of those jobs in New York, I was on the road with Pat Paulson when he was signed with a very big agent here in LA,
Mhm.
and that agent came. I was getting some great reviews, and the agent came to the show and invited me to come to LA, and he would represent me. So I wasn't one of those kids that hit LA and have to look for an agent for 2 or 3
Right.
years or whatever. I was very lucky. I also was really young and blonde and tiny and funny and had a lot of experience already when I got here
Mhm.
from doing it, from actually having jobs in the business. But when I moved to New York and I was very young, I the first thing I did was get a typing job so I could afford acting classes. And so I studied with some of the best teachers, the most famous teachers, even still today.
Hmm.
Uta Hagen and Herbert Berghoff and Bill Hickey. and mostly at HB Studio, but also I knew Sanford Meisner, worked with him, and Lee Strasberg. So
Okay.
I worked with the Actors Studio as well.
So I obviously, let's talk Hills Have Eyes, right? So how did that come? Was that your agent that brought this to you? And how did that come to be for you?
Well, I was the casting director. Gus Shermer was
Mhm.
friends with a friend of mine who's also a casting director, um, named Carol Prupp. And Carol suggested me for the role, and I was fresh off of Welcome Back, Kotter.
Mhm.
So I had some momentum in the business. I was getting a lot of roles, and so this was a role in a movie. And I had asked my agent at the time. I said, I'd really like to go from TV to movies. I want to do movies. Doesn't everybody? And
Mhm.
so my agent actually did not want me to do The Hills Have Eyes, but Wes Craven offered me the role on our first meeting. And so I had that part really before I got there to the audition. I did, I don't think I auditioned. I think I did an improv with him, and
Mhm.
he just said, "We want you for the lead." And I went to my agent and I said, "I'm doing The Hills Have Eyes." It wasn't named The Hills Have Eyes at that time. And so it really, I can kind of understand why my agent, didn't want me to do it. It's called Blood Relations. And so
Mhm.
I have the original script. And so I said, no, I want to star in a movie. And so um, that's, I can understand why he didn't want me to do a movie called Blood Relations. But I actually am the one who talked to Wes about changing the name of it, and he did
Oh.
it. So that was pretty cool.
Now, did you know who Wes was before doing the audition or talking to
No,
him?
no. I knew he had written and directed one horror movie, but I'm not.
Mhm.
I wasn't into horror movies then, and I do them. I don't really watch them much. I
Oh.
mean, if I have somebody with me and it's really like Get Out, I watched. Some of the bigger ones I'll watch, but it's not my favorite. I like Schitt's Creek and comedies and things. It makes sleeping at night a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely we watch, like I said, a lot of horror movies all the time, and we're up all the time. My wife's like, "I'm not watching this before going to bed." I'm
No.
like, "That's fair."
I mean, I guess after a while you get immune to it,
Uh,
but I don't like to spook myself out like that. I'd like a documentary or a good comedy any day. So, you know, um, there's so many good things that are available, and I love working in the horror genre, and I
mhm.
and I feel very blessed to have that opportunity, um, and I love to be a part of it, but not really to watch them.
Now, when you were making The Hills of Eyes with Wes, did you guys realize that you were going to have this? It's a cult classic at this point in time. Do you have
No,
that inkling?
not at all. As a matter of fact, during the shooting, I was going, "Oh God, I should have listened to my agent. Nothing's going to happen with this movie. It's not really that great." And I had done some really good things, and I knew the difference. And
Hmm.
so I was stunned, and that it began to pick up momentum. After it was released, by the way, it was released with not too much fanfare.
Hmm.
I went on the tour um, with Peter Locke, the producer, and
Hmm.
Wes. I was invited. They wanted me to go on the tour to promote it, and I did. Um, but I knew that the audiences were loving it, but
Hmm.
I thought it's this year's flavor of the month, and
Right.
next year it'll be forgotten. But then it got put in the Museum of Modern Art, I heard, on permanent collection as
Hmm.
the best terror classic. And that
Oh.
kind of was even worse, terror, horror. Kind of thought, yeah, I think I like horror better. But anyway, it was pretty terrorizing at the time. I didn't think it was a big deal, because you're on the set. The first scene that I shot
Hmm.
on set was the rape scene. So
Oh,
after that was
that's
done and put in the can, I went, well, the rest, I mean, is just running, so
right.
running and screaming. So Bobby, so I after the rape scene was done, and Michael and I had a lot of chuckles over that. So the rest of it was fun,
Yeah.
except for the heat in the summer. When I said it was hot in the day and cold at night, that's exactly true. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
Yeah, because I mean, you and Michael have done collaborative on a bunch of things. Obviously, he's helped you, especially with some of your music videos and too. I mean, obviously, it sounds like you made a good friendship there, and it sounds like a great family unit altogether.
Well, it's so strange that Dee and Michael and I ended up living in LA,
Hmm.
somewhat the same vicinity, really just 5 minutes from each other. And Michael has since moved. And so I don't talk to him as often as we did. I was very tight with Michael and his wife, Patty.
Hmm.
And we would do holidays together, even after, the Hills Have Eyes. There was a long span where I didn't see anybody. Then I ran into Michael at a screening and a red carpet. And so
Hmm.
we kissed and hugged, and oh my God, we're neighbors, da 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 da. And we started hanging out a lot. I really miss him. He's moved. He first moved to Florida, and I think he lives near Michigan now. I'm not sure, but I haven't talked to him in a while. I called him, but you know,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that's how life goes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun enough is because part of the production crew that I do, we do small independent horror movies.
Mhm.
He signed on to do the next movie with my good buddy, so I'm going to be working with him and meeting him in person. It's supposed to be this year. It's going to be next year now, so I'm excited as well, just to
That's great.
hang out with.
Lovely, wonderful person, and he's also fun to be with on the set, so you'll have a good time.
Awesome. I can't wait. It was just kind of a dream come true for me just to say, oh, I'm get to hang out with Michael Berryman and stuff like that. And it's also why I do this show. I get to talk to people like yourself. And I love the horror world. I love talking to everyone behind the scenes, you know. So obviously the heat's there. Let's talk about a little bit, you had, Cut from I think about 10-ish years ago. You're playing yourself in that movie, correct?
In which movie?
Cut?
I'm sorry.
Cut, CUT. I think it was about 2008.
Oh, Cut. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. David Roundtree. I'm sorry, I
Mhm.
didn't understand you. Cut. Yes. I play Susan Lanier, horror film director, and my ingenue is Dee Wallace's biological daughter, Gabrielle Stone.
Mhm.
And so we have this cute scene together, and then I also sing in that. My band is featured for a few minutes in that film, as well as one of my songs. And David Roundtree created that project with David Banks, and it was really fun.
I
I
mean,
like that movie. Now that's a movie I was really surprised didn't go somewhere, because
Mhm.
I think that movie's very scary and very well made as well, and
Mhm.
well directed. And I thought for sure that movie would. I enjoyed watching it, and I don't enjoy the genre all that much, but and I'm not in it enough to say, "Oh, I enjoyed watching it because I watch myself." It wasn't about that. It was like I went, "Well, this one's really scary and you really have to pay attention to it,
Mhm.
because if you get up to go to the bathroom, you're going to miss, or get a drink of water or something. You're going to miss a key element of how it all ties together at the end." But it didn't. So, you just never know.
Yeah. So was it surreal playing a fictionalized version of yourself then?
No, I've done a lot of interviews and things where I have to be myself.
Mhm.
So it was, no, it was just fun. And the scene was really fun because I got to play with Roundtree and David Banks, and David Banks is very funny. And it was just, no, it was just a job, but rewarding, you know.
Mhm. And I know you're also working on something that's in post right now, The Boatyard.
Yeah.
And so, without spoiling anything, because I want to see that when it comes out, I watched the trailer. I'm excited for it. What was that experience like for you?
Well, I really like this project.
Hmm.
I play a killer and pretty evil, and that's sort of fun for me because the one before that I played a real proper PTA type of mom,
Hmm.
and so I feel like I get to stretch in, go from one extreme to the other, back to back, which is fun for an actor.
Right.
And I just love the role of Martha in The Boatyard. I mean, she's just awful. And so if I ever wanted to take out my inner, anger, rage, Martha is a great character to do that with.
Yeah,
I,
like I said,
I look forward to that coming out. It was um, Dale Stelly is the director. Um, R.G. Graham
mhm.
wrote it and produced it, so they're cool to work with too.
Now I have to ask: do you feel, because these are independent horror movies, does it have the same feel for you, in 2023, 2024 as it did on Wes's set?
It feels about the same, to be honest with you. I mean, then I was playing a child.
Hmm.
On Hills Have Eyes, I'm playing 16, and I feel so blessed that somebody still wants me in their movie where I'm clearly not 16 and could be Brenda's grandmother now. And so, just to stay busy, and I love to act. It is my first passion, and
Hmm.
just to still be in the game. I feel lucky to be here and to be in the game. And I hope we're supposed to, the Boatyard one is supposed to be just a sequel.
Hmm.
And I hope that it comes to fruition that, there's a Boatyard two or whatever, three,
Right.
whatever it happens to be. But yeah, it's fun. And I audition for TV shows and comedy stuff. I mean, right now, if you said, "Do you want you can do one thing,
Hmm.
one only one more thing," I would pick a sitcom because comedy was my first love,
Hmm.
and it's much harder to do, and I would love to play the grandma, the old grandma, or the crazy aunt, or you know,
Hmm.
um, something on a sitcom. I'd like one more sitcom. That would be fun.
So you want to go back to the small screen then and a
Well,
sitcom?
I never
Or-
left. I mean, I've done a few
Right.
things,
Yeah.
but not with the momentum I had in the 70s.
Hmm.
But it's difficult to stay up there, forever. I feel I love how involved I am. I don't being on a show every single week is very difficult.
Hmm.
Your time is not yours. You can't just say, "Oh, I think I'm going to go to the beach today." No, it's not that kind of lifestyle. So it looks glamorous. It
Hmm.
looks like a lot of fun, and it is glamorous and it is fun. It's also a lot of hard work. I teach acting on a Zoom,
Hmm.
and I emphasize. I drive the students, and I'm not that easy to work with because it's not easy to do it. And I try to teach them the pressures of being on the set and what it's really like, and learning the lines quickly, and the writer will change your lines on you, and you
Hmm.
have to pick it up and move with it, and you have to be a quick learner, and on time, and it's you can't be 5 minutes late to the set or you
Right.
get fined. And so if LA traffic is bad, well, you go early so that
Right.
you're not late. And it's just, it's a commitment and it's hard work. It's great
Right.
work when you can get it, and great money.
So, I mean, you talk about, you want to do a sitcom, stuff like that. Do you have any existing franchise or IP in mind that would be like a sequel to a comedy that you'd want to do?
No, not really. I mean, I get good ideas all the time. I'm focusing on finishing a book that I'm writing,
Okay.
which has been kind of optioned already. So I'm writing a book. I told myself it's got to be finished at the end of August. So I'm spending days and my time trying to finish this book. Um, it's going to pick up. The business has been very slow since the strike,
Hmm.
and it's predicted to pick back up in August, which is
Okay.
almost here. And so I hope to be busy again with that. The networks have not picked up very many pilots or comedies like they did in the past, but everything changes. So we'll see what
Right.
happens.
Yeah. Do you feel like that part of that is the streaming mentality that we have in today's world versus traditional 2022 episode sitcoms?
I think it's I think it's right now is a very exciting time because if I came up with a really cool idea
Hmm.
for a comedy, which I have kind of thought about doing, I would produce it myself because of the availability of equipment
Hmm.
and getting it out there, even if it just starts on YouTube and then becomes something. So I think that young creatives have platforms that were not available to us,
Hmm.
and and I think look at people that have become overnight successes by putting a little comedy or something on
Right.
YouTube. And
Right.
so I think as long as the talent is there and the work ethic is there, you can create things that just weren't available to do when I was a young girl, you know.
Hmm.
It's an exciting time. So, it's got to be good.
Right.
I mean,
So
Leslie Jordan was a dear friend of mine. I did 4 plays with him,
okay.
and he was well known from Will and Grace, but
Hmm.
when he really got well known, were his COVID, uh, lives, where he would, talk to people. He became instantly an amazing celebrity,
Hmm.
he was already known, but not
Yeah.
like the internet made him.
So
That
what
was
can you tell
that
us?
was fun.
So you're just going to pick up in your book. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and when that you hope to have that come out?
I've been writing on that for a number of years, and I think that in terms of writing, this would be my first book, and I just wanted to get this story out. It's very dark, and I think my horror fans will love it because it's very dark. It's not
Oh.
horror; it's real. It's a little memoir of 6 months of
Hmm.
my life moving to New York City, and I was 17, and it's it's historical and certainly gives people an idea of what life was like in the late 60s. So
Hmm.
it's I've been told it's a fun read, and I hope it will be. I'm not at liberty to say the title here, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm excited.
that's what I've been focusing on. It's a real look into the 60s, and I've had some fairly powerful Hollywood people say, "Oh my God, I feel like I'm there," and that were there and know what it is. So if anybody's
Hmm.
curious about what that was like, I'm spelling it out in this book.
So do you have any other upcoming projects that you're working on that you can tell us a little bit about that you have?
Um, I have, I certainly have a couple of people in production or getting ready to do production that have asked me to be involved in their projects, but until I actually sign a contract,
Hmm.
I don't, when I'm on the set and I'm working, I'll believe it when I see it.
Right.
So I don't really talk about projects that, people have said, oh, I want you to be in my next project because I don't even know if it'll get made, but I am doing a horror terror con in Cleveland,
Okay.
August 15th. So if anybody's around in Cleveland, Ohio, August 16th, 17th, I think are the dates.
Mhm.
Um, it's easy to find on the internet. I'll be there and meeting people and meeting fans, and I'm looking forward to that.
That's awesome. Like I said, we've been going to cons too. We've been meeting some great people. I'm like I said, we're in the Chicago area, so yeah, Cleveland's not that far from us.
No,
So what? So you're talking about going cons. This is your first con, or you've been going to a number of cons over the years?
I'm an actor who doesn't really like to go to too many of them. It's a lot
Mhm.
of work, and you're schlepping all your crap, on the airplane and through the halls of the airport. LAX is a
Mhm.
nightmare, and so I go to a couple of them a year. I'm invited to a lot more of them. I like the LA ones because I can easily drive to Burbank and
Right.
meet people. I just did the Hollywood celebrity signing. Um, but occasionally I'm interested in going to one out of town. And
Mhm.
Ohio seems to be a really good market for horror.
Mhm.
The Ohio people love horror. I
Yeah.
found.
Oh yeah. I found that number of horror conventions overall have just, I think, gradually just blown up, that we're able to have people like yourself, come to these cons, and people are like, oh man, I want you to sign this, because I personally would love to have your autograph on my Hills Have Eyes laser disc. you know
I sign a lot of stuff. I'm surprised what some of these fans actually own and bring for me to sign, and I'll go, I've never seen this. You know, where did they get this? So it's fun. I also thought that because of COVID, the con
Mhm.
concept would completely die. I think it's bigger than it ever was.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
done Comic-Con in New York, in
Oh.
Manhattan, and just I don't know. I mean, if they're exciting, they're in a city I want to see.
Mhm.
You know, I'll
Yeah.
go.
Oh yeah, like I said, we one of the other channels I'm on, they host a lot of panels at conventions, and it's just been flourishing, as you said too. It's just COVID didn't stop it.
It didn't. I thought for sure it would. I thought,
Right.
well, that won't come back, but it did, big time. So you never know.
Awesome. So you said it's August 15th, 16th, and 17th in Cleveland.
I think it's 2 days. I think
Two
it's a
days.
Friday and Saturday
Okay.
of that weekend in August.
Hmm.
I would have to stop and look at my phone, and I know you don't want me to do that.
No, that would be the 16th and 17th would be
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
yeah, Friday
16th
and
and
Saturday.
17th, outside, slightly outside of Cleveland, but if you see
Hmm.
Cleveland Terracon or something, you'll find it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we say we're outside Chicago or in Chicago. We're like 15 miles. It's close enough.
I
Awesome,
haven't
awesome.
I haven't spent enough time in Chicago. I'd like to spend a little time in Chicago.
I worked downtown for a number of years. I'm done in Chicago. Just
I'm a
being down
city
there all the time.
girl, just for the record. I am definitely I don't live in LA downtown, but
Hmm.
I like a big city. I love Manhattan too, but you got to walk so much. So
Right.
I love to drive. So I choose LA.
There you go. All right. Well, it's time to get in the wrap up question. This time flew by for me. Hopefully it did for you, and hope you're
Oh, it
having a good
did.
time. So I have to, especially from an act perspective, you worked on like Tales of Eyes, but you've done newer stuff too with comedies and TV shows, everything done. Do you feel that CGI will ever fully, completely take away practical effects in movies?
AI would
Yes,
take
AI, CGI, yeah,
would
computer
take away from
graphics.
our work. I'm afraid it might actually. I think that it might backfire. I think people need the human element.
Hmm.
I personally prefer raw music than overproduced music. Um, I think the human element, where if you lose that, then you lose the rawness. I mean, The Hills Have Eyes is a great example of that. The
Right.
the original one was so raw and real, and you could believe that maybe that could happen.
Hmm.
The remake was kind of gimmicked up and manufactured. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying there's nothing like the original rawness of the first one. I think the same with art. If you don't have the human element, then what have you
Hmm.
got? A machine?
Right.
Machine can't be creative. So I don't know. A machine can be creative, I suppose, but can't feel. And if you don't
Right.
feel the emotions, then I've seen some artwork lately that was made by AI, and it, it doesn't even look like real people. It looks like
Right.
cartoon people. So I don't know. I'm glad. I will say this: my biggest gift is having the era that I experienced. I love the era in which I was born and was young and in my 20s and 30s and
Mhm.
40s, whatever. And I had the best of all best times, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the human element's always going to be there because you can have one machine write everything for you, but if it doesn't work, it's going to take the human eye to say that doesn't work, and here's how we can fix it. To be able to make those changes as needed.
And they can create my spelling all they want. I kind of like that while I'm writing my book. But they can't tell the story. It can't tell the
Right,
story. It doesn't know where I'm going to go with it. So
right.
it's the same. I love the fact that it it corrects my spelling. But you know, what are they going to do? Make up a story with this robot? No, I
Right.
don't think so. I think you're still going to need artists and actors. Maybe artists more than, I mean, writers and creators more than actors.
Hmm.
I don't think I would appreciate if I was gone to the afterlife that I'd like them to bring in a robot or a what do you call
Yeah.
it? Reinvention of me as a person and put words in my mouth with my
Right.
voice, like they are doing some people, and some people's estates are allowing people to do that.
Yeah.
I think I'll put that in my wishes that that not happen.
Right. That's completely understandable.
you know,
Yeah. All right, Susan, do you have any advice for anyone getting into the field of writing, directing, acting, making music, anything that you can give anyone?
just be prepared to work hard, and it's all day. I mean, producers, nobody. I don't think anybody's aware of how many hours one has to be on the set. You can't be a lazy person. You've got to be uh, um, you can't be shy or afraid. And I think that confidence is probably the most important thing about this
Mhm.
business is being confident in what you um, can offer. And if you have the right amount of confidence and talent, then you can make it, but you have to work at it. You really have to work and study, and you have to watch other people's work and be happy for other people that are successful.
Mhm. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's haven't been on a few sets. It's long hours just for those short movies that I'm doing. It's amazing.
TV is too. It's just long, long hours of sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting if you're an actor, and then changing things if things aren't working. If you're a director or a writer,
Hmm.
and it's just hard work, but it's also a great life and it's rewarding. It's a rewarding life, but you can't be afraid to work.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right, you ready for your random horror movie trivia question?
Ooh, I'm afraid I'm not going to do very well, but yes.
Oh, that's all right. I've had good buddies on here that write horror movies that don't get it right, but no worries. All right. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Name the movie.
Oh my God. Ugh. Okay, hold on. Halloween.
No, it's The Shining, though.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I should have
Oh
known that
no,
one.
no worries.
And
It's like I said, it's
I'm
all
so
good for
sorry
fun.
that we lost Shelley Duvall. Oh my God.
Yeah,
She was
yeah,
great in that.
yeah.
And I
I know
love
someone that
Jack.
was working with her on a movie this year too.
Oh, you were?
I know someone that was, yeah. So
Well, that's a loss. Jack Nicholson was fabulous, and I should have gotten that one bad. It's been too long since I've seen it.
oh, no worries. All right, so Susan, before we sign off, where can people follow you? Are you on social media that people can look you up and follow you and check out when new movies are coming out and when your book comes out that we can follow?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook under Susan Lanier or Susan Lanier Bramlett, which I do the music under Susan Lanier Bramlett, and some of my sites are a little confusing. I am Susan Lanier Bramlett, so Susan Lanier, just type in Susan Lanier, it'll take you to my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads. Spotify. I released a Christmas song last Christmas, and I'm going to re-release it this Christmas because I released it too late. So you can find a great Christmas song on Susan Lanier Bramlett Spotify, and called Merry Christmas on my own, and yeah, I'm on all of those. Easy to find. Just Google it.
Do you happen to know when the Boatyard's coming out for people to be able to watch it?
I don't.
No.
I talked to them recently, and there wasn't a release date, but I think it's soon. I think it's supposed to be really soon.
I'm excited. We'll definitely keep a lookout for it.
Me too. I'm excited. I love my evil character, and I certainly thank you for having me on. It's been fun, and I want to thank any fans out there for watching.
Yes, thank you, everyone. So thank you, Susan, for joining us. As always, I've been Graveyard. We'll see you next time, and make sure to not get lost in the void.
Yeah.
Night.